Hey everybody, and welcome to Elden Dogs, your favorite podcast about Elden Ring and its DLC, and 4 months of waiting and 30 hours of speculation. My name is, of course, Sir Gideon Offnear. I just want everyone to know that I knew about Messmer the whole time. I just didn't tell anyone because I play my cards close to the chest, and if anyone says otherwise, I will fucking send some lackey and some skeleton armor after you.
It's bold.
I've had enough of this bullshit.
This is Alexander Iron Fist, and I don't know what I saw in that trailer, but I'll tell you what, it looked pretty.
And we are incredibly excited to talk about the sponsor for today's episode, Terror Bites, the evolution of horror gaming. It's an upcoming documentary series on horror video games from their genesis to the bloody current state. It's 5 different 60-minute episodes plus 15 hours of bonus content.
Hell yeah.
Now, this isn't out yet. This is the campaign before they start making this. So if you want to get in on the ground floor on the early pricing, now's the time to do it. This is going to feature interviews from John Romero, the creator of Doom, Ken and Roberta Williams from Syria Online, as well as writers and directors of games like Clock Tower, Alone in the Dark, Dead by Daylight, Silent Hill, and many more. As of today's release, you have until March 4th to get into the pre-order campaign. Make sure to jump in if you like horror video games, and use our affiliate link in the episode description. That'll help support Hair of the Dogcast and to support these filmmakers.
Very cool.
Check out the trailer. It's fucking awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on this. So, yeah, check out our link in the episode description and check it out. I'm very excited about it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And before we start this episode, just a heads up for people who might not be familiar with the show. I imagine we might have some new listeners from this episode. Elden Dogs has been going on for a while. I believe this is episode number 32.
Hell yeah.
And for Patreon listeners, they get access to these episodes well in advance. They have, I believe, 5 or 6 extra episodes right now. And they're going to, the way they get spaced out, Patreon members get them every 2 weeks. And otherwise, it's usually about once a month that they come to the regular feed. This one's a special occasion because who wants to see trailer speculation after the game comes out? But if you want to check out we're doing a 6-part bestiary episode. We have a few other things lined up we're excited about. And access to those is on patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. And for as low as $3 a month, you can get access to a lot of the backlog. $5 a month gets you access to our movie and TV Popcorn Dogs episodes. There's like 7 or 8 bonus ones on there right now. And the $10 tier gets Doggies After Dark, which we are on. Like, that's 57 episodes of shenanigans. But so if you're curious to get more Elden Dogs, if you're curious to see extra content, check out patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Elden Ring is very, very exciting to me again.
Would you consider Christmas came early or Christmas came late? Because it is February.
Well, it's like if Santa drove by your house and showed how many presents you got. And there's one in the shape of Marika's child, but you don't know for sure. And he's like, all right, see ya.
So you didn't even try to wrap it. His hand is hanging out of it.
That's a good point. So, yeah, we're talking about the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer. We're going to drink a few special beers, and I got some heavy metal as fuck ones for this. These are, of course, from Rykard Christianic on the Patreon. This first one features a bunch of fucking weird skeletons. They have odd shapes on their for their skulls, too. This is from Brutal Beer Works, and they are out of somewhere in Texas. And this is a called Marauder Cold IPA with Centennial and Idaho Gem hops.
I do like a cold IPA. Also, I'm normally not a very big fan of all the minimalistic logos that companies got going on and NBA teams and stuff. This is kind of a tangent, but NBA logos back when I was growing up were baller, like the Toronto Raptors with the actual raptor, and now it's a stupid basketball with a claw mark, and everything seems to get more sleek and just minimalistic, and I dislike it. But the logo for Brutal Beer Works is dope.
Yeah,
it is a hop wearing a Viking helmet.
I love it. And yeah, these were as far as the beers in the fridge, special ones. These are the ones that looked most appropriate for
Yeah, I could see that.
Shadow of the Erdtree. So, cheers to 4 months of our watch, waiting for the fun.
That is a tasty beverage.
Classic West Coast IPA, quite delicious. Yeah. So thanks, Rykard. The Shadow of the Erdtree trailer.
Yeah, I was pretty jacked.
Yeah.
I was very excited. My first impression was it is just about as big or bigger, it seems like, than I thought it was going to be. So that's cool. I'm glad it's not a little tiny rinky dink DLC.
Yeah.
It's a capital D, capital L, capital C.
It's capital expansion. Like, I think they even referred to it more as an expansion than a DLC. It is going to be quite massive. That is one of the points of contention, but we got a lot to talk about. The DLC was announced February 28th of last year, so it was,
Wow.
it was Elden Ring's 2-year anniversary. I think it was yesterday as of recording. Almost a year later, we received the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer, and apart from that, we're going to be referencing various Miyazaki interviews that were recently released from Eurogamer, IGN, and Famitsu. And I have watched and listened to lots of speculation from Quaylog, Sekiro Doobie, Vati, Bonfireside Chats, Smotown, Ratatosker, Tarnished Archaeologist, and more. There's a lot out there right now, and to varying degrees of Kool-Aid levels of craziness. I spent a lot of time back in the day on the Song of Ice and Fire subreddit reading 10-page lore theories about the horses of a certain house and how it explains things. I'm into the weird, like...
I was on Free Folk.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm into extrapolating stupid amounts of speculation from just one fucking image. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. A fair amount of it is... There's certain things we know, certain things we think, and certain things that we can guess, but there's nothing to confirm. The size of this, I've seen it anywhere listed from 12 gigabytes to 60 gigabytes, depending on Steam will say 60, but does that include the base game? Either way, I don't think that's a good signifier of the size of this. The Miyazaki, in one of the interviews, said it's roughly going to be the physical size of Limgrave, which to me, I was fucking pumped. But some people were saying, oh, that's not big enough. I'm like, go fuck yourselves. Limgrave is huge.
Yeah, Limgrave is gigantic.
I remember thinking that was the whole map of the game when we started.
Yeah, I remember getting to Stormvale, and I was like, this is it. This is the grind.
And I think people are underestimating just because something can be, the size of Texas. It could also be just fucking full of things. It's going to be dense. And he even talked about how it's the biggest expansion From has ever done in terms of overall volume. It's going to feature field area, legacy dungeons, smaller dungeons with more interconnectedness. Think a la, Bloodborne. The way the levels join together, there's ways to get from this spot to that spot. I have a feeling it's going to be a much more interesting map. I know one of the issues Dylan had with it was just like how open a lot of it was, and some of the assets were reused. And I think this one, we're not going to see a lot of that.
No. I'm totally fine with it being like Limgrave is a big map for a DLC. Plus, not to mention, who knows how many fucking underground caves there might be, or
lots of underground.
Those giant river wells. We could find another one of those. Who knows? But I do like the idea of going to more of a Bloodborne type, a little bit more restricted of a map for the DLC to kind of give a more tailored experience for this, as opposed, because they've nailed the exploration and the wonder of the open world, and I don't really think they need to do it again for a DLC. Just give us more of the excellent combat, more lore, and more cool-ass enemies to fight.
So much.
And I'm totally fine with a little bit of a tinier or more restricted map. And in all honesty, I think I kind of agree with Dylan where like the game kind of gets a little bit overwhelming the first time you play it, just with the sheer scope of how open it is. I would think it would be refreshing to have a little bit more of a restrictive play space this time around.
Yeah. The trailer opens up. Well, we'll talk about the gameplay before we really start the trailer. Difficulty, Miyazaki addressed in some of the interviews. He says it's going to be similar to the end game of Elden Ring and have at least one optional boss on the scale of a millennia. He didn't want to give too many details on any of that, but we can expect it to be difficult if we want. But something that is interesting that he also said in another interview was the unique leveling system. This is unique to the DLC area. Think of the attack power system in Sekiro. Separate from the original level system, there is an attack power that is only enabled in the DLC areas. This is being introduced to give freedom to meet the threats mentioned earlier, so you can do something like exploring other areas before going back to challenge bosses that were too strong the first time, allowing you to more easily experience this even in the high-level range. I think what really this is a way to have extremely overpowered assholes like ourselves that have, 150 hours on a character and
make us feel young again.
I think it's going to be like a difficulty slider where you can kind of choose how badly you want to be punished, kind of like the main game. But I think it's just a fresh layer on top of that to allow people to have more of the gameplay experience they want. I think it's cool that they're doing it. He hasn't explained much about it, but he did compare it to Sekiro, which I think is interesting.
And I know a lot of FromSoft like diehard fans say that Elden Ring is probably the most accessible or easiest of the Souls games, but I haven't played the other one, so I don't know personally.
Yeah. There's ways to make it the easiest for sure.
Could be another way of addressing that and making Elden Ring a little bit more difficult this time around. Not that I necessarily think they need to. I think the balance of challenge versus just running into a brick wall over and over, Elden Ring was very good.
Yeah.
It was challenging, ultimately rewarding when you finally beat the boss. Yeah. I could do with a little bit more difficulty because I did just settle into like a cheese wheel where I just found what worked and then cheesed as much as I could.
Ooh, the sword of night and flame.
Yeah. I just use the pebbles, man. Like, you're never gonna catch me. I'm just gonna jump on Tort and run away.
Yeah, and it's cool that I think that they found a way to try and make it to where every player can have the level of difficulty they want, even if you are overpowered as heck. So the trailer opens with Mogwin Palace. It seems to be a woman standing in the arena looking at Miquella's cocoon. I don't know if it's Melina. I've seen some people say it's Melina. The thing is, we just don't know who it is. I feel like it's a woman, and I feel like it will be an NPC that might arrive there after you beat Moog, and they will say, touch the withered arm to learn the truth of Miquella or the lands between.
It's Patches.
It's just Patches.
It's
Patches in a robe. I found a theory that I like today that's not Miquella in the cocoon. We've seen Miquella. Nice little glowy, extremely pale, regular-sized human, maybe, like smaller.
Yeah.
The arm coming out of that cocoon is quite long.
Looked more akin to our snake friend.
Almost could be Messmer. We don't know for sure. We know that Miquella went into the Haley tree, and the Haley tree was growing around him, and Moog stole him. And Moog has been fornicating or doing something with this lifeless corpse of his half-brother.
Could you imagine that you break in to steal Miquella, to kidnap him from the Erdtree?
Yeah.
And you do go through all this work, and you remove him from the tree, you get him back to your palace, only to find out that it's just some other asshole that was also in the tree.
I've been fucking some other guy.
That's not even the dude?
I thought that was my brother. It turns out it was probably my other brother.
Shit.
Confirmed the lands between is in Alabama. That's a theory that I like just because the body is so much bigger than all of the other art we've seen Miquella. But we'll see. We don't know. Again, this is speculation zone. I also saw some people posting about the ring on the finger of Miquella in the cocoon. It seems to be two snakes coiling around a finger.
And the arm, I mean, just my first impression was the arm hanging out of the cocoon is much more similar to, we're just going to call him Messmer, or I guess you are.
Messmer's his name.
It is officially.
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't done the level of research.
I did not do any.
Classic Iron Fist.
Yeah, I'm just here to learn.
Oh, I had so much to drink last night.
No, I was hell diving. Well, birthday party, then hell diving.
I've heard good things about hell diving.
It's so much fun. No, but I noticed that the arm looked a lot like Messmer's. Like, it's almost the same design. It looks very similar. And I did think back to like all the Vati videos I saw.
Yeah.
And Miquella does not look like that. But it also is the lands between, and death does weird things to you. Mm-hmm. So who fucking knows?
Maybe Moog is injecting him with HGH or DGH, demigod growth hormone.
Dude, could you imagine if Conor McGregor took that, got in the octagon?
Dude.
Oh, my goodness. He would knock Michael Chandler's head into the 56th row.
If I knew anything about what you're talking about, oh, man.
You know who Conor McGregor is?
Isn't he a dick?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably.
I also saw on Instagram, there's like a Elden Ring protein powder available now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I was like, oh, for real, huh?
Well, you got to get them gains when you're gaining levels.
Yeah.
I could be their marketing team.
We get a voiceover from a male saying, pure and radiant, he wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying. This is referencing Miquella. Shrive is to hear the confession of, assign penance to, or absolve someone. So they are cleaning someone of their sin, of their problems, whatever it is. Their hearts are tainted, and he is shriving them. As always, Elden Ring takes me to dictionaries more than any other video game. But there is nothing more terrifying to what Miquella is up to, and that's crazy to me. I mean, if I go into a confession box at a church and the priest's like, "Oh, you're good to go into heaven again," that's not terrifying. Maybe it's terrifying that you needed it, but
yeah.
And as far as most of the voiceovers in this trailer, I think there's 7 different actors. I think it's almost all new characters. There wasn't anything that I recognized as like, this is that person.
Welcome to the square table hold.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to be 7 new assholes like, do you know anything about? Oh, you killed them all. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a new guy.
Okay. We got another one.
How do you feel about snakes?
He's bigger than the other guys. He's got more fire. Miyazaki has said to access the DLC, you will need to have defeated Moog and Radahn. Moog makes a lot of sense. Radahn is a more interesting.
So is this something that's going to take place possibly the same way that like Cyberpunk's Phantom Liberty took place? Like instead of after the main story, it's something that happens in continuation of the story?
Well, it's continuation down a different branch. It's not like he's also said there's no new endings. Like nothing that happens in this will add a new ending to the game, which is fine. I don't know. It pleased me and upset me at the same time hearing that.
So for people that have beaten the game, it's just another avenue to explore.
It's another avenue to explore. We'll continue the story, but it's interesting that until you defeat Radahn, you cannot go in there. Radahn is, of course, holding the stars in place. The lands between is not being affected by, outer space, the greater forces out there. And we know that, man, this is where it starts getting to a lot of that crazy Miquella speculation.
Do you run into any of the knocks before Radahn dies and that asteroid hits in Limgrave?
You can. In the village by Radahn's area. But you fight the 2 of the knocks guarding like the final bosses of the hidden city there.
Because my thinking is obviously the first thing we see is the hand sticking out of the cocoon in Moog's palace. So you must beat Moog to access the DLC. But if you have to beat Radahn too, there might be some knocks some Noxy shit going on, maybe, possibly.
Well, what I think's happening is there is the arena, or the Castle Sol in northern mountaintops of the Giants, and it's all about the eclipse and about how Miquella wanted an eclipse to happen for something, a shadow of an Erdtree. Maybe an eclipse would be required to pierce the veil to allow us see things, because it's like an eclipse blocks out the sun. It could block out the Erdtree, maybe reveal things that you couldn't see in the regular sight. So I think it's something to do with needing an eclipse, because we know Miquella was trying to find an eclipse to help Godwin's soul be able to be put to rest. His poor death-bladed brother. I think it's got something to do with needing the eclipse to happen for us to be able to see it. And if the stars can't move, that can't happen, perhaps. Big perhaps on everything we're saying.
Well, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that for Radon to have to be defeated in order to access it, it's either got something to do with the Nox or it's got something to do with the stars, because outside of that, I mean, Radon's something you can get done fairly early in your playthrough.
I believe that the Land of Shadow, which is what they're calling the DLC area, is going to feature a lot of lore for everybody. We see an arena that seems to be regular Lucaria/Carian. We see, a lava area. I think we're going to learn a lot about all kinds of things. A lot of Crucible imagery. But there's a poem included in the description on YouTube. The Land of Shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree, where the goddess Marika first set foot. That's a big deal. Land purged in an unsung battle, set ablaze by Messmer's flame. It was to this land that Miquella departed, divesting himself of his flesh, his strength, his lineage of all things golden. So he possibly did this when he went into the Haley Tree. He's like divesting himself of his flesh, similar to what Ronnie did, of all things golden. Miquella, a little refresher, he was cursed with eternal youth. He's an inventor of various items and skills. Miquella's needle, possibly the golden epitaph straight sword, the rings of light incantation. He's a smart kid. He's like a Taj Mowry and smart guy. Yeah, just getting into shenanigans. Researches cures for Melania and Godwin. He's doing everything he can. That's when he abandons fundamentalism, when he's like, I can't get the answers here. I'm going to try some weirder shit. And that takes him down this road. And he founded the Haley Tree as a safe place for, the misbegotten, the Albinorix, people that were shunned by the greater will. He's also Saint Trina. Cut content made it explicit that Saint Trina and Miquella are one and the same. That, of course, is cut content, but I would venture to, I'm still going to say it. A cut quest shows that Miquella, under the guise of Saint Trina, used to sing a lullaby to soothe the frenzied flame affliction of the red-eyed merchants, helping them to retain their personhood and prevent them from becoming one with the frenzied flame. The Sword of Saint Trina says Saint Trina is an enigmatic figure. Some say she is a comely young girl. Others are sure he is a boy. The only certainty is that their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance.
So it's Timothy Chalamet.
It's like, we don't know who that is, but they're comely, okay?
And comely is attractive, right? Because homely is ugly.
Yes, comely is attractive. It's not a common word people use today.
In the South, like in Arkansas, I hear it a lot.
That cousin of mine, she comely.
Yeah, no, they usually say homely. There's not a lot of cousin love, because if there's
they would spell comely wrong if they used it.
Oh yeah, they 100% sure.
And Saint Trina's torch, fascinating item. Carvings depict Saint Trina, but in adult form, somewhat unnervingly. It's, the face of what looks like a woman with hair all around it, obscuring the eyes with one giant open eye in the center of the head, is how Saint Trina is depicted.
It's terrifying.
Eyes wide shut, dream logic, lots of stuff happening there. But the first DLC image we got possibly references that Miquella was Torrent's former master. Miquella is riding Torrent in the image.
And I think we talked about this on a previous Elden Dogs when the image came out, and I was very hot on this idea.
That Miquella was Torrent's former master?
I think that is for certain.
That's why I hope we don't run into Miquella, because if they ask for Torrent back, I will kill him.
Yeah, it's like when you run into what's his face in Jedi Survivor, and BB's there.
Yep.
And I was like, you're not taking him from me.
Cordova, it is great you're alive.
I will punch you.
I will punch you if you try and take my little baby droid.
So Miquella, though, and everything that I've learned about them, they are a good person for the lands between. It seems like they had very pure intentions, or they wanted to help.
On a scale of Godric the Grafted and Praetor Rykard, yes, he is on the better side.
I'm really interested to see how they make this evil.
But they also say that the one thing that they say towards possible other like darker intentions is it can compel affection. Everyone loves him, and he has like gained the ability to make them love him. Which
he's like influencing it.
Well, it's like if I bring a 6-pack of High Life to you every time we hang out, you're like, I really like Brad.
Oh yeah,
he's a great guy. So I don't know. He compels affection. Maybe it's also like, Qui-Gon Jinn using Jedi mind tricks to save slaves. Morally, yeah, I get it, but you're also cheating a fair bet.
Or he's wearing like Aqua by Giorgio Armani, and they're like, oh, he smells so good.
That's all it is. I thought you were talking about Qui-Gon Jinn for a second. I was like, wow.
No, but Liam Neeson probably smells great.
He's got a good musk, I imagine.
Yeah, probably solid.
Probably a little bit of whiskey.
A little bit of whiskey, yeah, and then just Drakkar Noir.
So, yeah, it seems like Miquella's probably Torrent's former master. So Ronnie also gives us the lone wolf ashes at the beginning of the game, possibly. And she says these belong to Torrent's former master. And Melena's the one that gives you the spectral steed whistle to summon Torrent. Makes it seem like they might both be working with Miquella or doing something on behalf of Miquella. Capital perhaps on that one, always. But I'm leaning that way. The Land of Shadow. The time frame, Miyazaki said in interviews, this takes place at the same time at the same time as the main title. You're not transporting into a different time period, and I'm venturing you're not even going into a dreamland. It is. He's very specifically says it's a physically separate part of the map. So before I even saw this theory has become in articles now. There's been YouTube videos about it. There's some that it's going to be in the center of the map, in the water area. It's that big open area to the east of Liurnia, and the divine towers are lined up in the 6 divine towers are all lined up in a way that seems like something should be in the middle of them. In cut content, it was also talked about how there was experimentation with using the divine towers could alter the geography of the map in some way. We see the veil in the trailer, the veil on top of the shadow Erdtree. And to me, the divine towers are all tethered to the veil.
Yeah, I could see that.
To me, that's what's happening. And to get through the veil, to see what's in there, is what possibly the eclipse, something with touching the ring. To me, it's definitely going to pop up in the middle of the map, though, but it is physically separate. You won't be able to get there any other way than warping there somehow.
Yeah. It blows my mind because how much of this was like pre-planned and like this is what we're doing versus holy shit, this game's successful. And I'm not saying that they rushed out a DLC at all, but did they expect to make one? Because the map is so well thought out in the way that you explore it and travel it.
Yeah.
Did they plan for a DLC? Did they plan for that gap there? Or was that just a happy accident? And I think this about DLCs all the time.
This is, there is things in the game which hints at a missing child. When you go to fight Morgoth the first time and he walks out and it shows the thrones for the children, he starts at the right and he says, Godric. There's a space between Godric where another throne would fit. It says Melania and Miquella, and then he goes to the other side and it's Ronnie, Rykard, and Radahn. And also, according to that, how I would want to organize them, if you go left to right, Ronnie, Rykard, Radahn, Melania, Miquella, space, Godric. I think that'd be the order of birth, potentially. But there is a space for a missing throne, which the first time I saw that, I was like, well, that's a missing throne.
Yeah.
And as far as, how much was planned ahead, Miyazaki said in an interview that there is no new material written by George R.R. Martin. Nothing new was made for this game or for the DLC. But then he said, this is all based on previously written mythos from the base story. George R.R. Martin wrote the grand mythos of everything, which I want that fucking document. But no, so this was part that was already written, and he said at some point, he's like, and then Messmer was this other guy, and he impaled her, and he's kind of like a fallen angel, and then he went to this other, he's in this hell area.
See, that's the way that I want to lean.
He became George Lucas there.
That's the way I want to lean, because with George R.R. Martin kind of coming up with the lore for the universe, you're going to have a wealth of it. Too much to put into the game, because that man he won't stop.
I'm so angry with him right now. I'm halfway through Feast for Crows for my third time, and it's so good.
And it's just, you're never going to scratch that itch.
I'm so mad.
But, with it all being written, I think back to our cut content episode and how much I think we were alluding to, like, I think this various storylines might have been taken out or held back for a DLC. And we were already talking about that then, which I believe when we did that episode, this was already announced, but not officially announced.
It was just the image was announced, and it's like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And everyone started hollowing and going crazy because From Software can do whatever the fuck they want. And they'll say $40 for an expansion, and I will give them all of my credit cards.
It is incredible how quickly I will buy a $40 purchase on the PlayStation Network versus a $70. I mean, I know you're essentially doubling the price, but I mean, I just bought Helldivers 2, which is $40, and I didn't even think about it.
That's actually, I didn't know it was only $40 for a game that people are liking so much.
I am obsessed.
Yeah.
But anyway, for a DLC to be $40, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, that is such an easy price point for me to justify in my mind.
It's the safest purchase in video game history.
Yeah. I know I'm going to like it.
Yeah. There's no way this is going to come out and I'll be like, dang.
So
8 new weapon categories. This is so dumb. I can do kung fu kicks. I hate this. Like, I can't imagine anyone ever saying that.
I'm going to say it right now, though, when we get to at the end of the year, when we do the Dogcast Awards, if you try to say that this is the game of the year,
there's going to be a new category. It's going to be called DLC of the year.
Okay, I was going to say, because I will point out Phantom Liberty so fast.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah. And then there's other things in the current map, like the Impaler's Catacombs is being referenced a lot. And that's great. I went there and walked around, and there's nothing showing that it might be something else. But it used the word Impaler, and Messmer the Impaler is what he's referred to as on the collector's edition material. So that's there. There's also the ghost of a body saying Marika's unwanted child. I forget what it is, but to me that just refers to the Wandering Mausoleum. Sometimes I don't think it's explicit. We'll talk about another thing that happens in the trailer that seems to be exactly that. But yes, I believe that some of this was in the base game. Some of the concepts, such as using the Divine Towers to alter the geography, specifically. I mean, it's a Limgrave could fit real nice in the center of the map.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be like a cool what the fuck moment when you're actually able to see through the veil or just knowing it's there. I think it'll be exciting. Yes, so the Land of Shadow is set at it takes place at the same time. He says it's going to be kind of like how we learned about the Shattering in Elden Ring, which was a past event. We're going to learn about what happened there.
We're going to learn about the Shadowing.
Ooh. It's like a speech impediment that really works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Shadowing.
Yeah, it's like that episode of South Park, the shitty walk.
Mongolians always breaking down my she wall.
Yeah.
It's classic Mongolians. We're not doing the lore of Genghis Khan today, though. A place obscured by the Erdtree, where the goddess Marika first set foot. It's going to be featuring more interconnectedness. The trailer shows haunted grasslands, fiery caverns, mystical ruins. We're all fucking pumped on all that. A poison swamp.
Love it.
And Miyazaki, in an interview, he said, I don't have my poison swamp quote here, but he said something like, "This was a moment of introspection for me. I did realize that I like poison swamps. And it appears to be a Deathblight swamp, which would be very fun. But he's like, I think that when players get there, they'll have a moment of introspection as well. Which, what are you doing, fucker? He's up to something.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get there and be like, fuck me. Because that's what I did 99% of the time when I ran into something.
Yeah.
It's met with, like, a little bit of overwhelmness right away because I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then B, this is really cool for a brief second. And then I usually die pretty quick. And then I get angry. And then there's a little bit of frustration. And then it's just pure exhaustion. And then I run into something new. And then the cycle repeats.
Well, you get past an area and you're like, this is cool. And then there's a bird with knives attached to its feet. And you're like, this is horrifying.
Go home.
I don't want to be here. Miyazaki said in one of the interviews, so this land of shadow itself is a place the player will visit to walk in the steps of Miquella. Miquella is a key part of the story, perhaps is guessed by many players. It was he who traveled to the land of shadow, and it's the players who will be tracing his path and following in his footsteps, trying to see what he's going to do there. Another axis of the story is Queen Marika and what she did in the land of shadow and what led Miquella to follow her there. So it says that Marika, the goddess Marika, first set foot here. First was one of the first set foot. I think is specifically what it's.
Yeah, that's what you just said.
Yeah, where she first set foot. So this land is ancient. This is before the Erdtree. So she wasn't the first person to set foot there because she wasn't there in the time of the Crucible. Probably. I mean, that's from everything we know. So she potentially became a goddess there. She had to do something there to become a goddess, is my belief. But she went to the land of shadow and she did something. And Miquella later on goes there to see what happened there and to do something there himself. The land of shadow, it seems to be lorded over by Messmer, the Impaler. And this area has been set ablaze by him. There's a giant. We have a new Erdtree. I call it the Shadow Erdtree. I've heard it referred to as a few things, but it's actually a tree with another tree coiling around it and like strangling it. So there's speculation on that too. It is snake imagery, which I like.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Coiling around, seems to be squeezing all that good Erdtree juice out of it. I went down a rabbit hole today about the Great Tree, but that just seems to be the Great Tree is referred to in a few different items, especially the root resin in the game, as a separate set of roots in the lands between that the Erdtree used to be connected with, which I'm like, oh, maybe that's the Great Tree. But then a lot of people say the Great Tree was a mistranslation and there was no separate tree. And Miyazaki is just sitting there just laughing. It's like, I'm not going to tell you, but... so we're following Miquella here to see what he was up to, and he went there kind of following in the footsteps of Marika. And Marika, she is said to come from another land outside the lands between. She's of the Newmans, so naturally I want to say, is this where the Newmen are from? Is this where Marika's people are from? Some of the characters we see in the trailer have masks similar to Tanith or Malie Murray of the Shaded Castle. And Tanith is said, Rykard's old lady. Tanith is said to come from a faraway land. She was a dancer there. And maybe that's where she's from.
Vegas.
She's from Vegas.
She's from Vegas.
Rykard went to Vegas and he's like, what's your name? Your real name. I want to take you to Montana. I'm going to show you my manor. And we see the veil in the trailer early on, the veil obscuring everything. And a lot of the imagery associated with that from the game. Marika's bed has a veil over it, which people jump on quick. The Black Knife Assassins use a concealing veil to disappear. Black Knife Assassins are Newman. Marika's a Newman. Veil, veil, veil. And a lot of people talk about Baldachin's blessing. The Baltuchin blessing has been gifted to many people. It says the protection of a hidden temple in the guise of a bedchamber. So lots of comparisons to be made there, similarities. And Miquella awaits in the land of shadow the return of his promised lord. I think that's us.
I am the Elden Lord currently.
Which is funny that you could be either not or be the Elden Lord for this, and it's doesn't
Totally
make
fine.
a difference. Yeah. But he's awaiting the return of his promised lord. The trailer, back to the trailer, we get a big exterior after the Moog's Arena. We see a tarnish riding torrent down a road with gravestones everywhere. We see the veil of the shadow Erdtree. A small pan upwards reveals probably our biggest look at the geography of the map. And people that are complaining about the size of this, that's a huge map.
Yeah.
There's so many ruins, so many castles, so many fortresses. There's swamps. Just that image alone gives us a lot to look forward to.
And it's just, in today's day and age, a big map does not equate to good. And we are far removed from that.
Yeah.
A big map could have a lot of bloat in it. It could have a lot of
Are we talking about Starfield?
Are we talking about Assassin's Creed?
I don't know if I'd give Assassin's Creed too much issues there. They reuse a lot, but at
it's
least the
too
map
big.
is varied.
Yeah, it's still too big in my opinion. But
Okay.
yes, Starfield, too big. But just because something is not that big, it's fine. A more tailored experience on a level that is manageable for them to actually create a good play experience
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be because it's dense. It's going to be fucking dense.
The only thing that I really looked up about the trailer was reactions to see what people were saying about it, and what I found is people are largely very hyped. But I did see the number one thing people complain about is that it's going to be small, that it's not a big enough map, and there's like it irritates me a little bit.
Yeah,
because I don't know how many games you have to play with a massive map to finally get that does not equate to a good experience.
Yep. Size matters in other areas, but not in video game density.
Yep. The other thing that I did notice is there's a lot of Berserk imagery used.
You know
throughout this.
more about this than I do.
Yeah. This is where I wish I had Dylan here, because Dylan could nail it. I don't know the characters, but Messmer is wearing like almost the exact same helmet as, I don't think it's Griffin, because I haven't gotten that far, but I've seen the cover of the Berserk manga that they're referencing.
And we know Miyazaki loves Berserk.
Yeah, it's makes me very psyched. I just hope they don't do the one storyline from Berserk too much, because I hate it and it makes me feel bad and it's scary.
We can talk about that speculation near the end. I would reckon from this image, the ultimate goal of the DLC is to get to the base of that Shadow Erdtree. That's where we're going to fight our final boss, I imagine. I think that's just like ultimate destination with lots of stops along the way.
And with how much we see Messmer in the trailer, it makes me think that there's something scarier.
He won't be the final boss.
No, I think
just like Old Hunters DLC features Maria, and while she is terrifying and a 3-phase boss, there's going to be a different baddie.
Could you imagine if Messmer was like Margit and he's just the first person you run into?
That'd be hilarious. I would be all about it. I don't know, but
that would be crazy if like within the first 20 minutes you're fighting him, and then everything after that it's just like, the fuck.
It's a rune bear dressed in the Godskin apostle garb.
If there's a rune bear at all in this DLC, I'll be pissed.
We know there's at least one confirmed rune bear, but it's one that we get to use. That one like incantation.
Oh, yeah.
Where your arm turns into a rune bear with an omen horn covered in looks like giant hair. It looks insane.
That shit was crazy.
Yeah. The next shots we get to see what I think are some NPCs. The first one is at nighttime. It's an armor, kind of reminiscent of a Karian knight helmet. There's a golden spear symbol to the right, just like a little shaft of light with the circle. It seems to be the Ring of Miquella, possibly his great rune, because we also, if you pre-order, you get that gesture, the Ring of Miquella, so that seems to be his sign. And it says we're following his footsteps. I think that might be kind of what the guidance of grace is for this. You see those signposts and go there.
Yeah.
And the next one, we see this epic red sky, and there's a someone with armor. I said kind of reminiscent of a gladiator with their exposed thighs. The helmet seems to resemble Tanith's mask, and the giant sword has a hilt somewhat similar to Radahn's swords with the lion's mane motif. It seems to possibly reference the Crucible era. I believe there'll be lots of Crucible stuff here. The next character is a big, thick boy leaning over a pot.
Hell yeah.
And that's me throwing up after dying to the new bosses, I think. He's just like, oh,
I'm never drinking again.
Don't go to that swamp. His armor kind of reminds me of Tragoth's armor. And the next one is a long, skinny body sleeping on the ground, surrounded by light pink flowers, somewhat resembling St. Trina's lily. Again, the mask seems like the same design as some other ones. And the head does move subtly. Seems like they're taking a nap ski. The next spot is a giant study. And this is very much in the design of Rey Lucaria, of the Carian Manor. There's glintstones lighting the room. And it seems kind of like a place of worship or study. Various pews and benches knocked over. On the throne in the center sits a figure. I read that figure as a man. Some people think it might be a woman. Seems to be the same figure from the Carian inverted statue.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. That statuette of a scholar with ground and sky inverted reveals the hidden form of the Carian study hall, which connects to the divine tower. So I think they might be explaining how it works. Like the concealment, the divine tower, their magic might be involved somehow. The scholar holds something in the statue in their left hand, and they're raising a finger upwards, like the gesture for as above, so below that you see in all those images of like angels and devils.
Like Baphomet?
Yep, like pointing up. It's, according to historians of philosophy and science, as above, so below is a reference to the supposed effects of celestial mechanics upon terrestrial events. This would include the effects of the sun upon the change of the seasons and those of the moon upon the tides. It's about how the effects of what happens above changes what happens here. I liked all of that allusions that I was picking up there.
Yeah, that is gnarly. I didn't even notice that.
There's a lot.
I'm a big Baphomet fan too.
Dude, you are a huge Baphomet fan.
I got a lot of that certain kind of imagery in my apartment.
Yeah, I mean, it's the good stuff. It's either that or Katamari Damacy. I'm somewhere in the middle. We see some Death Blight, New Orleans swamp-looking mansion.
Welcome to Louisiana.
To me, I'm like, that's a fucking New Orleans swamp. Just like a manor covered in like overgrown moss and...
I caught a Popeye's chicken off in the distance in that shot.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
There's a Popeye's armor set.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If you pre-order.
Yeah, garlic butter roll armor.
And you can get the new throwing chickens. That's a new weapon category. They show a painting of an old man sitting forlorn and a woman with her face somewhat obscured with her right hand on his shoulder. A lot of people think this woman is associated with deathbed companions. I don't see it as much. The hood is obscuring her eyes like Thea, but maybe. And the man, though, he just looks like he's seen some shit. And they're like, you want to smile for the picture? He's like,
no, I just saw Madam Web.
Dude. It's worse.
It's worse than we could have imagined.
Important to note, the brooch on his cloak, the brooch under where his head is. We'll bring that up in a second. Next, we see some locations, an underground area with carved pillars, lit with a torch, featuring tons of pots hanging. The pots are, of course, filled with viscera and material to replenish, to sustain the Erdtrees, to our big pot boys.
Yeah.
There's a long shaft dipped into lava in a dungeon. It's held by thick and sturdy chains. The bottom of the shaft reveals some sort of motor churning, could be an Archimedean screw, the oldest known type of hydraulic device. It seems like they're pushing the lava somewhere. That's all I could get there. There's a large fortress with a giant stairway leading to a solitary gate. The angle of the veil places it facing the Shadow Erdtree. It's looking towards the tree. There's another voiceover that says, they were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war.
Damn, that is a heavy metal line.
I think through dying, you become canonized a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, especially in this world.
You either die a hero or you
Live to come back as a tarnished.
And it turns out they were all bad guys across the board. No one has been good, except whoever you tried to help and killed, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Bach never hurt nobody.
And little snake girl, she's had a rough life.
She was okay.
Raya was okay. And then they started showing off some new enemies. Now, we know there's over 10 new bosses, so some of these might be bosses. I misread the interview for this because somebody asked Miyazaki about the giant burning body thing. And he's like, that's a very good observation. Mitchell. The way it was formatted, I read it as the enemy's name was Mitchell. And then I'm like, maybe that's historically a thing that they called, walking burning body pits.
Yeah.
So in my mind, he will be Mitchell until confirmed otherwise. Also, I've just seen people put him next to the fire giant, and it says fire giant, and this one is giant fire. Mitchell the giant fire will go with. Walking fire pit, confirmed to be... Miyazaki calls it a terrible weapon used in a war that occurred in the land of shadow. So without saying too much, he won't even give away the name, but it was a really gruesome weapon that was used. And the kindling that you see is actually the remains of bodies that were put in there to burn. There seems to be a fire giant head, possibly a beard on the hip. And there is a sun imagery on the front for like a mask with, it seems like omen horns kind of radiating out. I'm going to die to that thing.
Oh, 100%. I've said it a lot on this podcast that I'm scared by enemies in this game. The game scares me because I'm not the best at it. But that thing lives in my dreams now.
It's so sick. That's a Berserk reference for sure.
It's got to be. It's not one that I can
It happens.
Point out.
I saw people showed the image from Berserk, and it is like a walking Wicker Man full of bodies. It's also somewhat a reference to the Wicker Man, just
Nicolas
in
Cage?
general. Well, that's based on a real thing, Celtic myth.
Oh, yeah.
And the Nicolas Cage one's a remake of a previous film as well.
Which was starring... Oh, fuck. I'll remember later.
I forget their name. But we see...
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But we see Mitchell, the giant fire. Someone also called him Horny Jail, which I like that as a name too.
Horny Jail's good. Yeah, I like that.
I like Horny Jail. Super excited to fight that. We see a long snake monster deep-throating a tarnished.
Yeah, that was gnarly. That's at first I thought it was one of those like creepy tree things. They're not really trees. What are they?
Worm face?
Called? Yeah, the worm face.
They got somewhat of the body shape.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Could be.
Yeah, but that was highly...
Maybe these are the worms before they started eating death blight out of trees.
They're just regular worms, just in time for Dune.
Yeah. They're going to make a popcorn bucket for these guys when Elden Ring comes out. Except it's like arm length. You have to reach a full arm down in it to get the popcorn at the bottom.
Just to get a kernel that breaks your tooth.
I think the Dune popcorn bucket is a publicity stunt. They know how dumb it is, and they're banking on people buying it because it looks extra dumb rather than being cool.
Oh, 100. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the dumbest popcorn bucket ever made.
It looks like it was designed for, the joke where like you put your dick in the bottom of the popcorn bucket and then you get a hand job during the movie. It's like that old joke. It looks like it's designed to conceal that exactly.
Or to be the opposite, and you go up the top.
Yeah. PSA, don't fuck the bucket.
There's a whole SNL skit about that.
Is there really?
Yeah.
I know they did one on Stanley Cups that I got to see, apparently.
And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to keep discussing this. Going to grab another beer. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Madam Webcast. We're webbing today. We're talking about the hit new film, Madam Web. 10 out of 10?
100% a 10 out of 10.
Dakota Johnson is going to win Best Actress for this film.
At the Raspberries.
I'm super excited to see it.
I'm going to watch it for the memes when it's on HBO.
I was talking with my co-host for Need for Speedrunning, and their partner is Jamie Flanagan, who is a writer for Midnight Mass and Fall of the House of Usher, and they said, oh yeah, we're going to see that tonight. we can't wait. It's supposed to be that bad. And there's something special about someone who writes Midnight Mass going to see Madam Web that I love so much. I'm getting off here once again, though, and we're going to learn all about that fucker Messmer because it's my job to know shit. And this guy has been wiped from the annals of history. The annals of history.
And I'm Alexander Ironfist, and I don't know who the fuck this guy is.
Are there pots? We got another special beer from Rykard. This is another one from Brutal Beer Works. It's a stout with coffee, vanilla beans, and lactose, 8.2%. I think it's just called a breakfast stout. I don't see a specific name anywhere on it.
What's that in the bottom right corner there?
Odd Coffee. Must be the coffee that they use. And it features what looks like some sort of a monster over a cup of coffee.
It looks like a bugbear.
A little bugbear baby.
It's like a bugbear.
You know, the fact that you can actually get a bugbear in your camp and I didn't get it breaks my heart. Did you know? Well, we're not going to do Baldur's Gate.
Did you? Never mind.
The next thing we're talking about is the Dancing Lion. This is a heavily featured enemy.
Are you talking about that thing that's like moving all fucky?
Yes.
And I was doing an arm motion that was equally as fucky.
You were getting down. Miyazaki calls it a dancing lion in one of the interviews. So one of the first things you notice is that it's got 2 rows of teeth. There's a set of straight chompers inside, and there's a set of more carnivorous teeth. So it's some sort of an amalgamation. It might be done in to revere lions. It might be done to mock them. It's very reminiscent of, you see a Chinese dragon at like street festivals, and there's like this.
Yeah, it does look a lot like that.
And one of the first things you see is this, it looks like a lion, but then the foot comes forward. I'm not going to say that I'm on only feet for Margit, but that is an omen foot because I've looked at Morgoth's feet so much.
It's funny you bring up the foot because when that happened, my first thought was, hey, Margit. Like immediately, I'm like, how many times do I got to teach you this lesson, old man?
Tarnished. No, I don't want him again.
Margit, and what is his name?
Margaret.
Margaret.
You're saying it wrong. It's Margaret.
No, isn't it Margit and Margaret?
Margit, Morgoth.
Morgoth.
Yeah.
Margit.
A hand pushes the bottom jaw up to close it. So I don't think that they even have control of the mask at all. A foot of an omen steps forward. We talked about the Chinese dragon. The eyes are glowing green. The outfit features what seems to be a lot of omen horns.
Looks like really confusing movement. Going to be really fun to try and dodge.
Now, there's 2 different things this could be. I think there's at least 1 omen under there. Some people think it's like 3 or 4 omen inside of it that are all like controlling it together.
Like you would control one of those dragons at a Chinese New Year.
Like 2 kids in a trench coat trying to go to a movie theater.
Like Steve-O and Chris Pontius and a zebra suit.
Getting fucked.
By the lions.
And we're going to be the ones getting fucked.
It's going to be great.
There's a lot of arms inside of it. So it's at least more than 2.
What if it's just a grafted...
That was my thought.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, we got a grafter here. It could be either. There's at least multiple limbs under there. It's long enough to where it'd have to be some really strange grafting. I wouldn't mind another grafter, but it's either that or, 3 or 4 kids in a trench coat. Either way, it's a cool design.
Outside of Messmer, this was the coolest enemy that I thought I saw in the trailer. Or it's the one that it stuck with me because I think we get it.
I also like Mitchell the Horny Jail.
Yeah, I like the lion more because the lion just looks confusing as all fuck.
Yeah, and the way it moves around.
It's going to be
swims.
It's going to be really hard to predict that on the battlefield, I'm pretty sure. Like it's going to give you a lot of Margaret hesitations.
Yeah, and it's got Miyazaki reference. Like this is from a culture from before, like the Shattering, before the Golden Order. So they loved lions. There's something going on there. This might be where the Crucible is, like the primordial form of the Erdtree. There's a lot of like Crucible looking monsters, but This is a cool design. We then get our first look at Messmer, person walking with snakes. I see some Drake Knight enemy imagery. Summons a large cloud of red magic from his right hand. And we hear a voiceover of what seems to be Messmer saying,
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
To me, this is...
Explain that to me like I'm 5.
To me, that is like questioning, like, Mom, why would you let these kids be tarnished? Why are you giving them the guidance of grace?
Okay, that makes much more sense.
He's a dweeb. He's wearing Popeye's chicken armor set, and he's throwing chickens at me.
He drinks Dr. Thunder, Mom.
It's not even name brand.
They can't even get the pepper.
He is so lame and so bereft of light. I think that means that they're a My Chemical Romance fan. There's just no light on their bodies.
No, they made Danger Days, and that was a very colorful, bright, desert-filled sunshine album.
Next, we see what I think is showcasing weapons a little bit more. There's 8 new weapon categories. There's currently 31, so this is a 25% increase in weapon categories, not just weapons.
Now, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I going to be able to have a machine gun crossbow?
To an extent, yes.
Because that made me pretty happy.
The first one we see, a Tarnish is fighting 2 new enemies, wearing yellow, green, tattered shawls with ornate headwear. The enemies are wielding a lit candelabra, and one blows fire towards you with it. The imagery of like that candelabra shape is the one we see a few times.
There's the candelabra whip.
Yep, and we also see it later on, like the branches that we see, like that thorn and sorcery.
The blowing fire at you kind of reminded me of the perfumers. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, there's a little bit of that in there."
Yeah, it's a sideshow trick where you take like lighter fluid in your mouth and you blow it, and you set the birthday girl's hair on fire.
You know, I used to eat fire when I went to the Ren Fair all the time in Florida.
Were you a performer?
No, but I
I
was friends with some of the performers, and they taught me how to eat fire.
I went to the Ren Fair, and some guy was like, "Hey, try this soap." I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "It's edible." I'm like, "Should I eat it?" He's like,
"I wouldn't."
He's like, "It's edible," and then I ate it, and he gave me a sticker that said "Soap Eater."
Oh, I thought he was going to be like, "Don't eat it," and then you'd be like, "That's a weird thing to say about your soap."
No, but he said it was edible, so anyone that just eats it on instinct gets a Soap Eater sticker.
That's dope.
I know. I was pretty proud. I was like, I unlocked a secret. The Tarnished in this scene is using one of the new weapon categories, the Gyokute-ken. I'm not saying that right. Reverse hand swords, so swords you hold the other direction.
Which, in every single piece of media that, the large amount, there's been a few exceptions that I can't name. But anyway, it looks cool. Everybody always says there's zero functionality to it.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of weapons in general.
I mean, yeah, but that's the one you see the most because it looks so badass. It's like some Chronicle of Riddick shit. And then...
Well, anything Vin Diesel holds becomes immediately more badass. I've been only drinking Corona after watching Fast and the Furious 1.
You can have any beer.
As long as it's Corona. Keep your hands off my sister.
I like to
That's
think
not a good Vin Diesel impression, but...
I like to think that they didn't get paid for that reference. That was just Vin Diesel trying to like ad-lib on the spot.
Only Corona on set.
You know, I can't even do his voice.
We're sponsored by Bud Light Lime. No, we're not. So that's the reverse hand swords. The Tarnished in the next scene throws multiple daggers towards a charging enemy, like a speared enemy brandishing an iron cleaver, which is a weapon of the misbegotten. But these are new throwing dagger weapons, which seems like ones that you throw and you retain somehow.
Yeah, that was badass.
We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. That weapon will fall apart very quickly when somebody gets within 5 feet of me.
Yeah. Did you also notice that there might have been another throwable?
Well,
is that on your list there?
We can jump to it. When I saw that, I put down Tyler Goes Wild.
I think I stood up. I was in a seated position for the majority of the trailer, and then
the giant pot.
The biggest pot you have ever seen. Thrown in an Elden Ring game. He hoists it above his head Like, what's the fucking statue that they show in Civilization all the time? The guy with the
like
world on
Atlas?
his back? Atlas, yeah. Like Atlas. And he just fucking hucks this thing. It's like throwing a mini nuke.
It's so cool.
It is the coolest shit ever. And
The giant pot. Wow.
dude, it's like I'm trying to make like a dab joke about it. I just can't write one.
Dab?
Yeah. It's like, so you start smoking like joints. No, not like that. Not like the Cam Newton dab. A dab,
Did
like
Cam
a
Newton
rig.
start the
like,
dab?
with THC oil, and
Yeah.
you have to use a blowtorch.
Oh, man, you're in a realm of shadow I've never been, dude. Something is obscuring you from my light.
The dabs are crazy. It's smoking like THC. It's like, it looks like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've just done it.
The
several
giant
times.
pot, though.
Yes.
I can't wait to make some giant pots and throw them at groups of enemies.
Dude, he has to throw it with 2 hands.
Yeah, it looks like slow and tough, and it hits like 3 or 4 enemies coming at you on a bridge. Sign me up.
Yes.
We see a tarnished woman levitating what seems to be a new kind of magic. She's surrounded by pink butterflies, which that has its own implications. But we haven't seen magic that looks like this yet. And she's wearing a navy hood of expatriated royalty, gifted to those who saw the guidance of grace, and they depart on missions to faraway lands from which they would never return.
She looked like, what's her face from the round table hold that you save? I can't remember her name because it's been too long.
Roderica.
Yeah, Rodrika.
However you want. Yeah, either way.
Yeah. I thought it was her for a second.
No, she's taking care of her old man.
Yeah.
He's losing his mind. He's a good guy, but
Yeah. No, they're happy.
yeah. Yeah. So we'll talk about the butterflies in a little bit here, but mostly this looks like a new form of magic, and that's exciting. I don't know if it's going to be a new magic category outside of sorceries and incantations.
I hope so.
That would be a new cool thing.
They did such a good job with the magic. I've played this game on 3 or 4 different builds pretty extensively. I only beat it once.
It's mind-boggling.
But the magic, the like being a spell sword was the most fun I had. Maybe because it was the easiest, but just being able to transition between like sword and shield and a staff
Yeah.
and having that dexterity or that capability, they fucking nailed it. So any new magic that they throw at me in this game, I'm going to eat that shit up.
Yeah. We don't know. They haven't confirmed like new schools of magic, possibly new magic categories. We don't know if there'll be new weapon affinities where you can, alter the base weapons to have different attributes. There's a lot we don't know, but I do hope this is a new magic category. There's some sick fucking monk character delivering a bunch of kung fu kicks to an enemy.
Yeah, out of left field.
This is unlike anything else we've seen before. And I was jacked immediately.
The idea of a monk has always enticed me, or like I've always thought that would be a cool character to play. And the only time I've ever actually done it and enjoyed it was Diablo 3.
Okay. Final Fantasy Tactics for me jumps out, but
I didn't play that.
yeah. Hand-to-hand combat seems risky in the lands between.
Yeah.
Those enemies grab you. That one snake will deep throat you to your ankles. Like, I don't want no part of that. What are you? You're just doing
Punch yourself out of him.
You're doing Uma Thurman in a coffin on the inside.
Doing it on the back of his throat, trying to break through.
That's exciting. That's another new category. And then there's what seems to be some sort of like new armor set, almost looking like a Knight's Cavalry. This dude's wielding a rapid fire crossbow. People are crying with joy on the streets, I put.
Oh my God, that was so cool.
Just sick.
Because I ended up just spamming pebbles a lot of the time. And I wanted to be a crossbow guy so bad. Dude.
I imagine the reload time is hell.
Oh my God. I mean, I'd use it once and then I'd get killed and I'd be like, back to the pebbles.
Yep. Hopefully there's like even a delay to where you can't even change weapons for like 2 seconds after you use it just to really fuck with you.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's a new crucible looking spell. Instead of a dragon on your arm, it's a giant fucking rune bear with an omen horn. And
love it.
We're the rune bears now.
You scared me when you said there was a rune bear in here.
I looked at Tom Hanks in the eyes and like, I'm the rune bear.
Look at me.
Look at me. I'm the rune bear now. And you're scared, okay? I'm powerful this one time in my life. There's a voiceover that says, I presume you too are keen to know just what kind Miquella is doing here. Of course, that's the fucking why we're here. That's why we're here. We see more enemies. We see a sea of glowing blue flowers and grass, some fireflies floating in the air. And this is another weapon category. The Tarnish is wielding an odachi, which is a larger Japanese katana. So bigger katanas.
Bigger katana, more bleed.
It's bigger now.
Dude, if the ones in the game already were huge.
Sephiroth has entered the Lance
Yeah,
between.
there you go.
And he fights a woman who's wielding 2 angled blades. She wears a red dress and a head covering. She reminds me of like a red dancer. Some are comparing it to the blue dancer who taught Melania how to fight the rot god. I like the comparison of the imagery. We don't know. But it looks like a cool character. Someone is riding a giant fucking boar with huge tusks.
Yep.
Wielding what seems to be a gravity lightning blade. Then my new favorite character, one of my new favorite ones, a giant hippo porcupine crocodile.
What was that?
It's Dr. Mephisto in South Park. It's like, I made a new one.
Yeah. I saw porcupine. I didn't see hippo.
The face, the wide mouth.
Oh, just because
the head. The head is very hippo. It moves like a crocodile, and then
it's spiky like a pork. He like flexes up,
dude.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun to fight.
Sick
is
flex.
what I didn't think.
And then one of the DLC images shows us using that. The Tarnish can actually use that spell at some point.
Oh, I like that.
It's called going into a ball and crying for me when there's too many people around, but you can also just explode porcupine quills. The next image is an undead-looking creature with glowing blue eyes riding what looks to be like a horse melting into the ground.
Horses are just not a good place to be if you're a horse, is the lands between.
No.
You're malnourished. You're holding up a god.
There's some like
You're
dead
melting.
dude stanky ass on you.
Yeah, that's rough.
He throws this thick boomerang weapon. Looks like it's made out of viscera and bones. And the horse plods along on only 2 front legs because it's melting into the fucking ground.
Poor guy.
The next image is one of everyone's favorites, the guy in the gold outfit trying to pull the thorn blade out of his head.
And I felt like the resolution or the graphics for that particular moment were upped, almost like it was a cutscene. Like
That's going to be a boss battle.
It looked fantastic.
Fuck yeah, it did.
Like it looked better than the rest of the trailer. It made me think that there was something special about it. Like they're pulling it from a different, like something that's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Rendered. No, it doesn't work.
That cutscene has a little bit more love.
Something big's going on there.
You can't pull that out of your head.
No.
The way that the branch or the blade, whatever it is, goes in and it fans out, it's going through his body and breaking up. And it's through his face. Like he's...
Yeah.
And they cut away right before we see how it's going to come out.
I would put that on a t-shirt and then get yelled at for wearing it at work 100%.
He is wearing the same brooch as the old man in the painting.
It's the old man.
It's the old man.
That's what Madam Web does to a motherfucker.
He saw some shit, man. He thought he was into thorn play, and now he's in thorny jail.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's our boy. We get another voiceover. Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame. When the Erdtree was created, when Marika became the vessel for the Elden Ring, she removed destined death from the ring, gave it to Malekith. And now the cycle of birth and death involves returning to the roots. It's all different. And so now it seems like Messmer is involved, because if you're stripped of the grace of gold, this is how you can meet death. Messmer can be the one to deliver your death.
Stripped by the grace of gold, meaning you can't see the traces. Like
Yeah.
You don't have the light in your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Which Miquella abandoned his all things golden when he entered here. So maybe Miquella was looking for death.
Ooh, I like that.
Maybe.
I like that a lot.
Maybe Miquella is Messmer. Maybe Messmer is Melena's twin. We don't know.
But I do like the idea of him like...
I'm going to bet, though, I die a lot.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet a lot of money.
Absolutely. I do like the idea, though, that maybe Messmer's down here to provide death to the Tarnished in that fashion, and that Miquella is down here because he was searching for death.
Maybe he was searching for a way to give death to Godwyn because he was trying to cure his brother's dead body of Deathblight. Maybe he went down there to see if Messmer could help. We get another scene with Messmer here. The Tarnished walks towards Messmer, who Messmer jumps up and strikes his weapon into the ground. The surrounding area has piercing weapons emerge, spears, great spears, all from the ground. You think immediately of the mountaintops of the giants, all the giants impaled by very similar looking shaped, thorn spears.
Very berserk.
Very berserk. The Tarnished here is wielding a dueling shield, which is another one of the new weapon categories. A shield with big old spikes in the top and bottom. So you block or you poke with it.
I wonder how good that's going to be. Because I used shields for all of my playthroughs, essentially.
Messmer immediately picks you up and punishes you for wielding it. So we'll see. But then you jump up and do the Crucible Knight wings skill, where you like the Crucible Knights where they jump up with the wings and they fly towards you. Thank God we got it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm the Rune Bear now. I'm the fucking Rune Bear. The next voiceover says, "Come now, touch the withered arm. Take my strong hand.
Take my strong hand.
And travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind. May we meet again."
So that's got to be the hand from the cocoon.
Yep. It's like, come on now. Get in here. Now we can talk about Messmer because we wanted to wait until we got near the end here.
This is going to be a pain in the ass person to fight, but the clips that we did get of the fight in the trailer, it looks like it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be fun. Now, Messmer...
his second phase is going to be scary.
The surname Messmer is of German origin, primarily found in the regions of Swabia and Bavaria. You knew this.
Yeah, that's common knowledge.
The name is believed to have been derived from the Middle High German term Messner, which refers to a sexton, a church officer or caretaker who is in charge of the maintenance of the church edifices and property.
So he's a groundskeeper for a church.
He's doing something for Marika and doing the dirty work. He is the secret, he's the Men in Black out there. He is Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones and in one body. The name was given to those who held that position, and the last name Messmer, I found this on one website, this is controversial, is an occupational surname derived from the German word Messer, meaning knife maker. Those with the surname likely had ancestors who belonged to the occupation of creating, maintaining, and repairing knives and other sharp-edged items.
Comes from Messer?
Yeah.
I know a Messer. That's crazy. I didn't know
If Messmer is derived from the term knife maker, the Knight of the Black Knives, the Black Knife Assassins, he could have been the one that created the blade. Again, I only found one website talking about it meaning knife maker, and I saw a Reddit post arguing it. All I know is there was one genealogy website that got a lot of hits. And they're like, what is going on? I guess there's a lot of interest in Messmer's now. His appearance, Messmer has one eye open, holding his pillow tight. He's got a reptilian right eye. It looks like he might have partaken in dragon communion. It's reptilian. There is dragon imagery. The wings on Messmer are actually on his snakes, though. The snakes are the ones that have the little like drake wings on them.
Yeah.
So maybe the snakes fly to us. I don't want that.
Yeah, like this. What if the snakes are wrapped around him and he uses them to fly around?
Sounds cute.
Like they just hold him like a soft little hug, and he just puts his arms out.
It's like a swing set that he holds on to.
Yeah, I like that.
The snakes are considered blasphemous in the lands between. The Duelist Helm says the snake is viewed as a traitor to the Erdtree.
The tree is suffocating the other tree. It's restricting it like a boa constrictor.
We don't know what Messmer did, but at this point in the lands between, snakes are viewed as blasphemous. It also says on the Duelist armor that people love watching the snake armor getting beat to shit because they hate snakes. He has red hair, which is somewhat considered blasphemous for being associated with the fire giants.
He doesn't have a soul then.
Yeah, just some real world. Classically, in the real world, gingers do not have souls.
Yep, I learned that from South Park.
Urban Dictionary.
Yep, check it out. The more you know.
And he wields fire, which is prohibited by those who work for the Erdtree. In an interview, Miyazaki specifically refers to him as a child of Marika. There's a missing throne. He also mentions, as you may have seen near the end of the trailer, there's this piece of key art where it shows Messmer sat in this throne-like chair. And people who played the game may recognize the throne to be one of those from the boss room where you battle Morgoth. This represents the thrones at the base of the Erdtree. It's supposed to symbolize that Messmer stands on equal footing to these other demigods. He wasn't featured in the Legends of the Erdtree, and we'll realize why he exists in the shadow. And
he got reassigned to the shadow, and he's like, that's fine, but I'm taking my goddamn chair.
I'm deleting my Facebook from the Lands Between, though, and you're not going to ever hear from me again.
I'm like, that's fine. Just take it.
I'm taking this chair.
Just fine. You can take it.
He drags it really loudly away, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't
very
lift it
slowly, too. Like that kid in the first season of Breaking Bad, that little shithead kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to punch that little dweeb.
And that's why we loved Walter White, despite him being a enabler for a lot of bad things.
Well, he's like he's a mass murderer.
So you might remember when we were discussing Melina, that one of the theories we had was that she was the third child of Radagon and Marika because of butterflies. Now, there's the Nation butterflies, which we associate with Miquella. There's the Aeonian butterflies, the red ones, which remind us of Melania. And then there was the smoldering butterflies. And we thought, Melina, she gets burnt. She has red hair. She looks like she could be the third redheaded child from their union. But Messmer.
Enter player 2.
Messmer seems like a more logical choice. Some people are saying maybe Messmer and Melina are one and the same. Maybe it's like a Radagon Marika split thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Melina's something else. You want to imagine that Messmer was on the mountaintops of the giants because of the way that they're impaled. Messmer's referred to as the Impaler. It doesn't line up timeline-wise, possibly, though. Radagon doesn't appear until the Liurnian Wars. It doesn't mean he wasn't there, but... and then there's speculation, is Radagon split from Marika? Were they separate bodies? Were they starting off separate and then they merged? That's only able to be speculated on. There's no definitive terms, but at some point they are the one and the same. You could go down a million rabbit holes and not find the answers on the internet there, but what it breaks down to is if Messmer was on the mountaintops, that means Marika was fucking herself first while she was still with Godfrey, because Godfrey was on the mountaintops of the giants and she was still in a relationship.
Is it just masturbation at that point?
Well, she loves herself a lot.
You were in a relationship with someone else and you fucked a clone of yourself.
Well, even to say clone is tenuous at best.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of gray area there.
There's a lot of gray area. Some people, there's just, there's avenues of speculation that will never get you to an answer. I did read that some people were saying, maybe Marika fucked a dragon.
I wonder, because I wonder if they do the split again. Because, you also have Miquella and Saint Trina, who are they are the same person, but two different forms of the person. And I think we said that Saint Trina was the dream version.
Maybe that's just like his drag character.
Yeah. Could be. But do you think they do it again? I don't know.
Well, dragons can also take human form. So I did like that maybe Marika got with a dragon, and that's why Messmer has the dragon eye. But with the order of the thrones, I want to put Messmer as being a child after Melania and Miquella. We don't know. We just don't know. But the impaling of the giants makes me want to say that he was there. He delivers death to those stripped of grace. The Impaler. Impalement, from Wikipedia, is a method of torture and execution. It's the penetration of a human by an object such as a stake, pole, spear, or hook, often by the complete or partial perforation of the torso. We know Vlad the Impaler. He's the most famous Impaler. He's the only one besides Messmer who has the
The nickname.
The sobriquet, the Impaler.
Yeah.
Marika is impaled through the belly when we find her hanging in the Erdtree.
That's true.
And that was never really explained. And, the belly is the womb. Maybe he was angry at birth. In Messmer's arena, there's a statue of Marika holding a baby. So he's got mommy issues for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe he's mad that she abandoned him, that she gave him a tough task. I kind of see him as a fallen angel. Somebody had to be the bad guy in order to make things work. And I think Messmer took it on, which makes me just feel bad for him. I'm going to learn to hate him again when I'm fighting him. But
yeah, I will hate him when I fight him. But you're right. I do feel bad for him if what is speculated could be true. It is a very tragic story. And having a character like that mixed up in all this, because I thought this was going to be a really heavy, it is very heavy Miquella, like what are they up to? What is going on?
yeah.
But to be more enticed by Messmer is kind of mesmerizing.
Which, wow, what a wordplay.
I know. I cooked that bad boy up about 4 minutes ago.
I've been sitting on it.
Yep.
I've been like a little chicken at Popeyes. Messmer, though, we know that he delivers death to those stripped of the grace of gold. He is a child of Marika. I speculate he's Radagon's third kid. I think he's related to Melina in some way. And we know he's blasphemous. I think that he impaled Marika, possibly under the Erdtree, because she's fucking impaled and he's known as the Impaler.
Like, I'm not
If somebody
saying
calls,
it was you.
if somebody says Tyler the Hungover, I think I know what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you earned it.
I'm not saying it was you, but like, that's your thing.
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
It's what we do in the shadows. Like, they call me the poker. I like to poke. The last shot of the trailer is Miquella, whose hand is reaching out towards the Erdtree.
Which did not look a lot like the hand from the cocoon.
I'm just saying.
That was the first thing I noticed. I wanted to see Miquella's face in the trailer, but I knew we weren't going to.
It wouldn't really show much other than like a very cherubic, boyish face.
I want to know what they look like.
Yeah. How many eyes do they got?
Yeah.
Are they open?
How pretty is the face?
How pretty is his face? We mentioned how there's no new material written. There's no new endings. In some of the interviews, Miyazaki did say that about Elden Ring 2 or more DLC. We don't have any. This isn't the end of the Elden Ring saga for now. We're not going to say that. But we don't have, at the time, any plans to make a second DLC or a sequel. It could happen in the future. And that's what we know about the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer.
Yeah. Comes out in June. Correct.
Yes, it comes out. I wrote it at the top. June 21st, I want to say. It's coming. It's not tomorrow, and that's all that I know. It makes me upset.
Well, it's nice to have an official day so that we're not wondering anymore.
Yeah.
The trailer, I think, was better than I anticipated it being. I liked the way that it showed a lot, and it didn't show everything.
No.
They showcased some very shiny bits to get you excited, but there is going to be some real power under the hood of this bad boy that we can't even fathom yet. That's why I'm kind of thinking that maybe Messmer is one of the early people you fight that leads you down a rabbit hole.
I'm calling second to last.
Second to last?
Second to last.
I feel like he's going to be in I think...
Miquella.
Do you think we fight Miquella? That was what I was going to ask you earlier, and I forgot.
I think at the end, what Miquella's up to, ultimately, he has to be put down.
See, and I've grown to really like Miquella.
Well, we don't know him at all.
But
maybe he's just really good at wielding the propaganda machine.
Vadi
in our country, a lot of people like a lot of stupid politicians.
And he's got Vadi on the payroll because that video it really humanized him a lot.
Well, they're all humanized to an extent.
But he's the most humanized to me. I don't know. I really liked the idea of the Miquella Saint Trina duality. I've been really looking forward to learning more about what happened with the story, especially after our cut content episode, because it seems like there was a lot of beef in Miquella's story that got put on the back burner.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot.
I'm very excited. Also, way to go on Messmer, because that is such an excellent character design.
Yeah. To me, I was like edgelord, but the more I learned, the
Yeah.
more I liked.
I immediately thought fuckboy,
Yeah.
and then I was like, he's all right.
Oh, he's got his favorite band tattooed on him?
Watch it.
Elden Dogs is going to be enthusiastically heading towards the DLC. We plan on having Patreon episodes every 2 weeks. So there's going to be a lot of exclusive content coming to Patreon. We're continuing the bestiary. We should be hopefully doing a speedrunning episode. We have that potentially down the line. And then we're going to be doing some deep dives into Spear Dashes, weapons, and the last episode before the DLC comes out, we're going to do a waiting for DLC party
Hell yeah.
where it's just going to be really like stupid questions and like fun what ifs.
We're not fucking leaving.
We're not leaving. We're not leaving. And if you want access to all of the previous episodes that are for Patreon members, as well as all of the future ones, there's going to be a lot of content only there. Check out patreon.com/HairTheDogcast. There's a $5 trial. You can do that for free for a couple weeks. I forget how it works, but just check it out. We'd love to have you. We have a great community, great Discord, and we'd love to see you there. Special thanks to executive producers Rykard Krisianik, Malakip the Black Blade, Blaggard Big Brian Ward, Jordan Hoslow, Sorceress of Blood, Festering Fingerprint, Phil Wright. Oh, I thought you were sneezing. Iron Fist, Phil Just Phil, Knights Cavalry, Cole Del Gardno, Bell Bearing Hunter, Bryant Ross, and Crucible Knight, Kelly Gutowski. Check out Hair of the Dogcast on all of our social medias. We're Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. And you can email us at hairthedogcast@gmail.com. Did we get anything wrong in the DLC? Do you have any theories that we didn't talk about? We do want to hear them.
Your thoughts on pots and how big they should be, I would love to know.
If you had a pot that big, what would you throw at someone?
What would you put in a pot that big?
I put 10 little pots.
All full of acid.
It's acid pots. Thanks for listening to Elden Dogs. If you're on our Patreon, you're also getting another episode today for the Bestiary, Part 5.
Hell yeah.
We're going deep. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.